I'm Ashira Ungar. Welcome back to the Kosher Convert. Today we're continuing our series on Indian food with my favorite dish. It's an eggplant side dish called Baingan Bharta, but I think it could be the star of any meal. If you haven't tried making one of our Indian dishes yet, this one's pretty simple. There are no spices to grind, and it's really amazing, so this is a good place to start. Of course, the first ingredient is going to be eggplant. For this, we're going to be using two sort of large eggplants, but because eggplants are variable, I'm going to tell you how to adjust the spices in case you get either really big ones or small ones. If you've been following our series on Indian, you know that every dish starts with onion, ginger, and garlic. So here we have 1 onion diced, we have 1 tablespoon of fresh ginger, or you could use paste, and 4 cloves of garlic minced. We have 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. Our spice mix, which is just cumin, coriander, and turmeric. Now, the key for the spices is that they have to be in equal measure. So you're basically using the same amount of cumin, coriander, and turmeric, and you're gonna adjust that based on the size of the eggplant you have and based on your taste. But right now I'm using 1 3/4 teaspoons of each. If you want a little more, just make sure you keep that ratio the same. We're also gonna use a 1/2 cup of frozen peas, a 1/2 cup of coconut milk, which is of course parve, and 1 tomato diced, and we're gonna cook everything in 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. The first step is to roast the eggplant. I use a broiler, but you can use whatever roasting method you want. And to do that, I always line the pan because it makes a real mess. So I have several layers of foil, and then the other thing that you need to do is make sure that you cut some holes in the eggplant to let out the steam. If you don't pierce the skin, they'll explode and make a huge mess, and that I have had happen because I've messed this up before. So when you are stabbing the eggplant, you want to be really careful. You don't want to stab the knife in here when your hand is right below. So just give a few little stabs, and then when you're doing the other side, move your hand and pierce the skin there. Once they're done, you just put them under the broiler or in an oven or over an open flame. Once the eggplants get roasted, they come out of the oven, you can tell how much they shrink down. Now I let them cool just a little bit so I can handle them, and that way I can get the flesh out from the eggplant. And this is pretty simple to do. Basically just cut in. I like to take the top off because sometimes it's a little spiky, or at least just kind of get it off to the side, and just slice it down through the skin. And you can actually open it up a little bit, and you can see how soft it is inside. And basically, you just want to take out that pulp that's inside, the flesh of the nice roasted eggplant. Once you've scooped all of the flesh of the eggplant out, you're ready to cook on the stove. Start by heating the oil, and then add the onion, ginger, and garlic. And saute that until the onions are translucent. Once the onions start to look translucent, it's time to add the tomatoes. Then you add the spices. So again, this is cumin, coriander, and turmeric. So at this point, I also add the salt, and that's to taste. I'm adding a little over a 1/2 teaspoon, and then I'll add a little more at the end if I think it needs it. And then some cayenne pepper. Okay, once it's had some time to cook, we're gonna add the eggplant. Just work the eggplant in entirely, and then let it cook for a few minutes. Okay, then add the peas, and then the tomato paste, and the coconut milk. And of course this is parve, so you can serve it with either a dairy meal or a fleishik meal, or if you just cook up a bunch of vegetable sides, you can make a huge vegetarian feast. This is another one of those dishes that's really great for Shabbos when you need to make the food in advance, like in the winter, because even if it sits for a while and kind of sits in a low oven for a long time to keep it warm, the flavors just get better and better, and they just develop, and it's not going to get any mushier because the eggplant's already as mushy as it can get. Aloo gobi, the dish that we made last time with the cauliflower and potato, is not like that. If you try to heat that up or keep it warm for a few hours, it starts to get a little mushy. So this is a lot better for Shabbos than that. And you can see at this point it's really starting to come together. And so this is the time when you should definitely taste it. See if you think it needs a little more spice. See if you think it needs a little more salt. Once you get done cooking, this is basically what you end up with. and it's best served over rice. So if you don't have a favorite rice recipe, check out our episode on pilau rice. Next week, I'll show you how to make a soup that's a great starter for an Indian meal. Betevon?